In 2025, my husband and I paid off $40,000 worth of debt, and we did it on a single income. I know what you might be asking, Maggie, how did you do that? In this video, I am going to be telling you the 5 strategies that we used to do that, and stay till the end because number 5 was everything for us. Strategy number 1, the first thing that we did was that we got very serious with our budget. So we fine-tuned our budget to the T. And the truth is, if you don't know your numbers, everything get messed up because numbers do not lie. And if you want to pay off debt, the key is knowing your numbers. And you have to know what's coming in and what's going out. So for us, what was coming in, we already knew because as I said, we only had one income. So we wrote every single thing that was coming out, every single hour, all our expenses. We wrote down even all the things that we pay yearly, like those subscriptions that are only paid yearly, the water bills that comes once a year, the car excise taxes that only comes once a year, every single thing, our discretionary money, we wrote all those down because if you want to pay off debt, you have to know all those numbers, because if you don't know those numbers, then it's very impossible to be able to get out of debt because you don't even know the budget that you have. So we got very, very serious about this, and we were able to measure and decide. Now that we knew the money that was coming in and now we know the expenses, now we determined how much money do we have left that can be able to go and attack our debt. Because with one single income, we realized, okay, we still have the money, we have this money now, and we have something now that can go start attacking the debt. Strategy number 2, we wrote down every debt that we have. So we wrote down who we owe, how much we owe them, the interest rate that we're paying on that, the minimum due every single month, and the due date. This gave us such a big picture because now we knew where to start, and we knew with these numbers that we have, we could even now calculate how long it would take us to get out of debt. We're still on our debt-free journey, but this was the start. The thing is, a lot of us want to get out of debt, but then sometimes we don't even know the number. We just keep saying, I want to get out of debt, I want to get out of debt. But guess what? We don't even know how much we owe, or like the whole big picture. We don't know. We don't even know how much interest that we're paying. But when you have that big picture, it's almost like a liberation that you get. Fine, you knew you were in debt, but sometimes, we just think, oh, I'm in debt, but you don't even know how much you're in debt. Because when you write those numbers down, because as I said before, numbers don't lie. When you write those numbers down, you're like, okay, this is such a huge amount of debt. That for us was such a big revelation. Like, okay, this is how much we owe, and now it's head on now. It was game on. Strategy number 3, once we had that full picture of how much and who we own, we needed a strategy. And there are 2 main methods people use to pay off their debts. There's more, but there's like really 2 main ones. The snowball method, where you pay the smallest debt and then roll the money that you were paying on that debt once that is done, and then you roll it to the next one. So this one is used by a lot of people because it gives people motivation, and you see quick wins and you stay with it. And then there is the avalanche method. This is where you attack the debt with the highest interest, because this saves you in the long run, saves you money over time. But it can take longer, and sometimes people get demotivated and sometimes they quit paying off their debt. But for us, we knew we did not need any motivation, so we chose the avalanche method because when we looked at our debts and the interest rates that we had, we knew that we needed to cut down on the money that was going into the interest. So we chose the avalanche method, and that's what worked for us. And in this journey, it doesn't matter which method that you choose. You can be a person who likes the motivation method. You use the snowball because you want to have the quick wins. Or maybe like me, I want the avalanche method because I cannot stand giving up all this interest to the banker. So the key is picking one that works for you and sticking with it. That is the key. Because sometimes, we can argue about what method works and which method doesn't work, but the goal is just pick one and stick with it and just run with it and pay off your debt. Strategy number 4. This strategy is so simple but so powerful. So we automated everything. So we set up automatic payments like on all our debts and the extra money that we found that we could be using to the debt. So we automated everything. We didn't have to worry about, when the bills are due. We already knew when they are due, but we didn't have to think about it. And that was such a game changer, like literally automating everything. It doesn't mean that we're not looking at our bills and all that kind of stuff, but just with the automation, we didn't have to think, okay, are we paying this debt or should we now steal this money, or take this money? Maybe we should pay off this one a little bit more. We automated everything and everything just started working on autopilot, and we found ourselves, that the bills were being paid, the debts were being paid. We were not being tempted to take the money that we had assigned to pay off debt to do something else because it was automatically done. There was no thinking about it. So automation would be your best friend. So if you're on this debt-free journey and you want to pay your debt faster, I would say when you find that extra money that you're going to allocate to your debt payment, and when you choose the debt that you want to attack, automate that amount. Just write it as a line budget and just say this also is going to be going to the debt, and just make sure that if it's a loan, put it on the principal. If it's the credit card, just add it, and you don't even have to pay at the end of the month. You can pay any time that you need to, because especially the credit cards, because it's not as principal as like the personal loan. Because like my personal loan that I have right now, I usually pay early and multiple times, and sometimes I'll just even pay a little principal because of the way they calculate their interest, so. And I'm gonna do a video of how I do my personal debt, and I usually cut a lot of interest, and it's amazing. Like sometimes if I pay at the end of the month, the interest is usually like $200, but if I pay like in the mid-month or earlier, the interest will come down to even $60 or $70. So usually save a lot of money on paying interest on that. So that's a video for another day. Strategy number 5. This one was a game changer for us. It changed everything. And this is when we determined our why. Yes. Now, it might sound so simple, but this changed everything for us. We have tried to start this debt-free journey before, but we still found ourselves, stuck and not really getting to where we want to be debt-free. But this time, this literally made a difference, and this is what is jump-starting us. We sat down and we wrote, we asked ourselves some hard questions. Why do we want to be debt-free? That was one of the questions that we asked ourselves. Why do we want to be debt-free? What does freedom actually look like for us? What are we sacrificing by starting this debt-free journey? And what could our lives look like if we didn't have any of these debts, And for us, it came down to this. We wanted peace. We wanted to stop living paycheck to paycheck. We wanted to start giving. We wanted to start being serious about our saving. We're real estate investors. We want to add up to our portfolios. We want to give more. And we also wanted to be good stewards of what God has given us. And honestly, because by the way we're living, we are not being really good steward, because being in debt and having all these debts, it's not honoring, that. Once we established that, it was go time for us. And even when things got tough, we had to stick with it, because we knew our why, and the why, it just kept pushing us and kept pushing us. And every single cent we had went to the debt. Every extra money that we had, it had to go to the debt. So was it easy? Of course it wasn't easy. Did we do everything perfectly? No, we didn't. There are some things that if I knew now, at the beginning of the year, I could have done differently, because what we were doing is we still had that, we're still paying those debts, but still we were putting extra money on these small bills just to add, not to just the minimum, because sometimes when you do the minimum, I felt like, you're just paying the half and the half is going to the interest. So we'll pay a little extra to go to that but I felt like if we had just been focused on just maybe bigger debts, we could have even paid more debt. But guess what? I'm not mad. We paid $40,000 off debt in 2025. So I'm happy about that. And in 2026, definitely we're gonna do things different. We're looking at just one debt. We're attacking it. We're paying the minimum on the other ones. We're attacking it and we are going head on. And by God's grace, I know we're gonna even do more in this year of 2026 than we did in 2025. If you have somebody who is in debt, or if you are on this debt-free journey, let me know in the comment, how much do you owe, or what your debt-free journey is looking like? And do you have a why, or have you ever started this journey and went back? If you have, let me know in the comment. I read every comment and I want to cheer you on. And I just want to appreciate and say thank you so much for watching this video. And I will see you in the next one. And do not forget to subscribe.